Howdy, folks, and welcome back. Hope you're all blessed and doing great out there. Well, for today's video, I present to you Freight Cars Rolling. Yeah. Now, this book does not have a cover, and that's how I got it. So, you have to go along with it, I guess. As we all know, a locomotive is probably the most important part of the train, but what really makes a train are the cars it hauls behind it. And as I show you this book, I'll tell you a bit about rolling stock and the different kinds there are that have been built over the years. Now there's a nice spread of different railroad names from the old days. This is an old book, but the look of freight trains doesn't change very much over the years. The only major difference is freight cars have just gotten a lot bigger, and the freight trains have, annoyingly, just gotten a lot longer. So, freight cars have been around, well, just about as long as railroading has. From the very beginning, with the first railroad that Stockton and Darlington, wagons, as they call them in England, were used to haul people and freight. And we just adapted the name freight car here in America. There is a table of contents, but the chapters only have anything written on them inside the book. No idea who printed out that way, but they did. There's a cool picture of the Santa Fe's cigar box band scheme. Pretty cool. One gimmick that was used back then is if you rode a passenger train on, say, the Santa Fe or the Southern Pacific or the Northern Pacific, you would like their services and want to ship your freight with them. And it worked very well, actually. There were express freight trains, and some passenger trains even pulled express freight cars with special trucks. Now, there's a car from the Soo Line. One of the most well-known is the boxcar. Now, boxcars have been around for a long time, and they have sliding doors, and they're very secure. There's the single-door boxcar, double-door, and the quadruple-door boxcar, as I call them. This is what's known as a refrigerated boxcar, or reefer for short. It's used for hauling produce and other materials. The first reefers had openings on the top, and the ice would be dropped in on either side behind a special net, and the car was full of insulation. Today, refrigeration generators take care of that. These are called gondolas, and they're used for hauling various loads as well. Different things like pipes and scrap metal, and sometimes coal. This is known as a bulkhead car. It's used for mainly hauling pipes and wheels of various other commodities. This is an ore car. It's made for hauling iron ore. You can find most of them on the DM&I are being pulled by the Yellowstones. These are two different types of flat cars. We have, I guess you could call it a regular flat car, but this one has 6 axles instead of 4. And this is a depressed center flat car. This is used primarily for tall, oversized loads. Now, this is something you can't see anymore. This is a stock car, or cattle car. Back then, livestock was hauled by train to market, and the stock car was a major commodity in that. Unfortunately, livestock is no longer hauled by rail. The last railroad to do it was the Union Pacific in the 1990s. These are two different types of tanker cars. Tanker cars used for carrying liquid and liquefied materials. They carry gas, milk, water, sugar, you name it. This is a covered hopper car. It's used for carrying stuff that would not be impervious to the elements, like grain, wheat, and sand. That's another type of tanker car right there. This one's just a bit bigger. Trains also carry automobiles. Anything you can think of that you've used in your everyday life or you see was hauled by rail. Anything. Clothes, electronic devices, beds, furniture, the materials to build your home. You name it, it's been hauled by train. So here's for more boxcars, and this right here is known as piggyback styling. Now the book may or may not mention this, so I might mention it as well. This is still in use today, but not very much. They have a new thing called well cars, which haul double-stack containers. One thing that made the boxcars unique is they were basically rolling billboards. The railroads would put their information on there, and they would just basically use them to roll around with. Some had cool styles to them, like this one right here. Some even mentioned passenger train names like this one right here for the Super Chief on the Santa Fe. Now here's some blueprints for one of the boxcars right here. Modelers, take note. This could be for you. Some major companies would buy boxcars and reefers and put their name on them like Coors Beer or a milk company. But that didn't last forever. It's now illegal to actually advertise like that. I don't know why. Some companies will buy tanker cars or hopper cars and put their name on them and lease the railroads to haul their materials. There's a 4-axle flat car right there. Pretty cool. One thing a bulkhead car is really good for is hauling logs. As you can see right here in this picture. See, this is an open top hopper. This is made for carrying loads like coal and heavy rocks. There's another covered hopper. There's a variety to choose from of each type of car being made. They're built by different companies including Pullman Standard and the American Car and Foundry. There is one of the early reefer cars where they would drop the ice in and put the food in the middle. The cars would be kept cool for a very long time until it was time to refill the ice bunker. Freight cars have been used for a long time, and they started small and just got a lot bigger. I didn't let you guys read that one, did I? I was going to give you folks a minute to read the pages, and the book was out of frame. I apologize for that. Construction equipment's hauled by train. I think that's a silo or a tank. There's pipes being stacked. I think that's a transformer. Big transformer. You can even fit a truck in there, or try to. Automobile frames. And this is what's known as an auto rack. Now, auto racks have been around for a long time, and they used to be actually opened up, like a auto carrier you see going down the highway behind a semi-truck. But they decided it was not very good for the cars, so instead they decided to add coverings over them, and that's kind of what you see today. A unique design was the Vertipack, where I forget who it was. I think it was Chevy, but they would take the cars and put them at a V-shaped angle inside the freight car. The problem was it was only used for one specific car company and one specific model. There's a reefer trailer right there. And there's some of the MyJack cranes unloading and loading the trailers onto the flat cars. It was just amazing to see how they started off and just evolved. The design of a freight car really is quite something. That's a big load right there. Looks like a rocket ship. There's just various bits of information here about different things. It's really a cool book about freight cars. I have seen tons of freight trains roll through DFW, and I have seen various runners from foreign railroads. Believe it or not, I have seen Penn Central, Milwaukee Road, and Seaboard a couple of times. The most unusual thing I saw was a train that had a bunch of Canadian freight cars on it and CSX cars on it. Looks like the freight docks in operation in this picture, loading and unloading the freight cars. Now, a lot of you may be wondering, well, how did these freight trains come to be? Well, they put them in together in what's called a rail yard. There are different types of rail yards that make up one big, busy, major operation. They're taken apart if they're going different places, and then they're reassembled into a train to go to where it's supposed to be going. There's plenty of videos about rail yards out there you can find on YouTube that can be a bit more detail-oriented than I can. The only thing you don't see on freight trains anymore is the caboose, sadly to say. Now you might be wondering, what's a caboose? Well, before technology, cabooses were used basically as the train's office. In the engine, you had the engineer and the conductor, and in the back of the train you had a brakeman, but also another conductor. Yeah, there you go. That's how they love the ice right there. Their job was to monitor brake pressure and everything else on the train that the engineer could not see. And it was a pretty cool operation. And it was nice because you could wave to the engineer at the crossing and wave to the brakeman in the caboose. They had to ride the train for days in that car, but they had everything you needed. They had a stove to cook on, they had a pantry for food, they even had a bathroom with a shower. They had places you could sleep or sit down. Oh, there you go. This shows the process of laying livestock onto the train. Pretty interesting to watch. But thanks to technology and evolution, the cabooses are now obsolete, and you see them in museums, on shortline railroads, tourist railroads, and some people even turn them into places to live, which I think is wonderful. Looks like they're loading up a whole bunch of stuff in all these pictures. Pretty neat. The caboose lasted from the beginning of railroading in America until about the 1980s. Now they have a device called a FRED, or EOT. FRED stands for Flashing Rear End Device. EOT stands for End of Train Device. It's a flashing light that they put onto the coupler that sends information up to the engineer. There's a brakeman hanging out the side there giving a hand signal, it looks like. Some cabooses are still in use on the rails today, but as shoving platforms. Instead of hanging on the back of a freight car, you stand on the back platform of the caboose and you radio or give signals. I wish the cabooses were still on the train. I'm sure a lot of people do too watching this. And here are the cabooses. So we got a few to choose from here. I'm not sure what that one is, but I do know that this is the bay window caboose, and these are all steel-sided cabooses for the most part. It was literally the train's office. That's an unusual design on the Great Northern, but I like it. There's a smaller bay window right there. And this is what the inside looks like. It was basically just a small apartment on rails. Now, if I was working this train, I would probably split my shit with my fellow person working there. I figured, maybe we could do an hour at a time, so each one gets like an hour to rest before it's time to switch over. Seeing passenger trains was a lot of fun, and even seeing the other freight trains like this was also a lot of fun. It'd be cool to actually go back in time, and you go, say, onto, one of these main lines, and you see one of their passenger trains, and then here comes a freight train right behind it. Freight cars used to have something called a hot box on them. It was a box around the wheel, and they would pack it with oily rags to basically lubricate everything to keep it from heating up. That has changed as well because wheels don't need that, but they still lubricate them. Now there's a rail yard right there to give you an idea of just how big they are. It's amazing how huge they were, and the operations were so efficient for the most part. When the train was going to be sorted out, they would start at the beginning, go over what's called a hump, uncouple the car, and roll it over a set of retarders or brakes in the track that would clamp down the wheels and slow the car down, and the car would be switched to its proper track and coupled to the next train. Very efficient operation. The biggest rail yard in the world is in North Platte, Nebraska, Union Pacific Steel Yard. It is huge. Even tugboats helped haul the trains. In the Northeast, there were a couple of parts of New York and New Jersey where they would put freight cars on barges and transport them across the harbor. This operation, though, is becoming obsolete, I'm told, slowly. And we end, it looks like, with the back of the caboose and away from the conductor. How nice. So yeah, as you guys can see, freight cars were important back then and they still are now. You know, next time you see a train, count the freight cars. See how many there are. Anyway, until next time, please like, share, subscribe, and comment. Please be safe around trains. And remember, Jesus is King. Happy rails, guys. See y'all next time.